What's up, guys? Welcome to Rice and Beans. Jester and Big O are back in the house. How you doing, man?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Woo! Oh man, so much shit has been going on, and it's just it's crazy how closely it ties into the shit that we came up with for this set like so many months ago, and it's weird like how much.
But it's never ending though, right? It's weird, but never ending.
Exactly, and that's why we're still on.
Yeah, well, I mean, people could say what our next topic is about is going to be cyclical, but it's not. It's generation upon generation sees it in different ways, but there's always been this viewpoint, and there's always been an adult scheme of what's been said and how it's construed and what people see nowadays.
And it's weird because this is, if you think about it, really, this is the first generation that's been complaining about like the little shit like it's the biggest fucking thing in the world. You know, fucking companies changing their mascots, other teams changing their names. It's just it's the first time that shit like that has gone on. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of what was all of a sudden the breaking point. It was all cool and status quo up until like this generation hit. Then it's all bitching and picket signs.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell are we going to do? We got all these Karens telling us what's right, what's wrong. They see every little detail of being, oh, this is going to kill us. Hell, there was a point where they said, oh, well, let's save the nation's forests. Let's not drill in these areas. Let's ask for money to help us out because of the whole COVID situation. Let's go ahead and, do these taxes and skew them and change things around. Now, I don't mean to make it sound like about money, but hey, guess what? You complain, you whine, you get what you want, and then we got $6 a gallon gas. It's all your fucking fault.
And it's funny, like some of the things that people were complaining about, like the little shit I'm talking about, is like fucking innuendo, like and cartoons and entertainment and movies and like TV shows, and thinking about like the cartoons that like we used to watch back in the day, like back in the 70s, back in the 80s, and even up into the 90s before people got real super touchy and offensive. Was loaded with innuendo. Like you go back and you think of things like Foghorn Leghorn and Bugs Bunny, and you know what I mean? And it's like, not just them. That whole Hanna-Barbera troupe had a lot of that shit going on too. It wasn't just like Warner Brothers that did it. And I don't know why everybody was so surprised. It was like a generation that grew up, that was writing those things, that grew up watching innuendo in cartoons from the 50s and the 60s. And it's getting passed down. And nobody's surprised, and all of a sudden it seems like the 2000s hits. Now everybody's fucking surprised, like, oh my god, how could they put that in there? And it's just like, no, it was always there. It's just that you just didn't pick up on it until now.
Show me on the doll where the bad man touched you.
Exactly.
I mean, for God's sakes, ever since cavemen drew on the walls, ever since Neanderthals were looking inside of the bush and so hunting for birds, two in the bush, they've drawn innuendo on the walls. You look at, they got penises, they got vaginas. Girls have vaginas, boys have penis.
Yeah.
They've done this from the get-go. I mean, from the inception, from the camera, from literature, from art, it's all been about sexuality and how they can, morph it into something that's, digestible by the masses, because a lot of people that were, conscious of God and Christ and Catholicism, touching little boys and little things like that. It becomes to a point where how do we get this, piecemeal down to where people can see it? And it, eventually worked into cartoons. And that's, essentially how I grew up. Do you remember when you were a kid and it was Saturday morning sitting back at your home?
Mm-hmm. Bowl of cereal, watching cartoons, laughing at jokes that I didn't fully understand.
I mean, I tell you what, when you see Ralph and Frank, go to the tree and dock in, right? The time stamp, mm-hmm. And then they start trying to kill lambs. The guard dog Ralph is trying to stop Frank, who's the Wile E. Coyote, to try to eat these sheep. You're all like, oh, that's hilarious. Look, he's trying to get those sheep. But you don't understand the ramifications of it. It's two parts, one of which one is trying to eat, the other's trying to protect. But it's also a nature part of they both have a job to do, one to survive and one to protect. And, that goes into the daily living. And that's on the good prospect of innuendo.
Right, and here's the thing too. It's not like it was just for the kids. Like they understand the writers that there are kids that aren't latchkey kids, and
Mm.
that their parents are gonna sit there and have to like watch shit with them. And I mean, you have kids. You've seen those fucking shows and how boring they are. Can you imagine with no innuendo? Like it's fucking mind numbing. But you got to sit there with them and make sure they're not tearing up your shit and or hurting themselves. So I think having that in mind, the writers knew, okay, I gotta have something in there at least that these parents are gonna be able to stomach and sit through. So I gotta kind of make it at least semi entertaining for them, at least a joke here and there that the kid won't get, but they will. So I saw it as more of like a public service than anything else than,
Right.
trying to like push like things that they're going to eventually learn about anyways, but they're still not going to get. So like if they come up to you with a joke that, they're not supposed to tell, just tell them, hey, just don't say that. And that's the end of it.
So, I haven't let you down with my stories of my life, right?
Right? Not at all.
So, yeah, so Saturday morning, growing up in San Diego, little pendejo like me, watching cartoons with my year and a month older brother, and the TV, the 13-inch TV, is on a rack, and we're illegally getting cable services. So there's a rotary dial, rotary children, rotary. Click once, click two, get all the way to 80, and you have to click it all the way back. So
Oh,
we're
man.
sitting there trying to watch cartoons, and it's a commercial, and we know the next show that's coming up is crap. We don't want to watch it. So we're yelling out, change the channel. And then, nothing's happening. So we're like, change the channel. Upon the fourth one, where we're yelling out, change the channel. My dad had enough, walked out butt naked from his room, started changing the channel, and our jaws are dropped and going, and he keeps changing it. Okay, yeah, leave it there. We're about done to watch his butt cheeks flapping from changing the channel. And we just look at each other and we just started laughing. Luckily, though, we picked the right show because we knew our Saturday morning and we were scarred for the rest of our life.
Wouldn't have you just let us change the channel on our own?
That's what we were thinking. But guess what? We were little kids and we knew what we got if we mouthed off. So we didn't want the belt dance.
Right?
But yeah, imagine scarring yourself with the change the channel thing. And that was our ritual every Saturday morning. My dad had enough of it that day.
Like we were allowed to change the channel. We just weren't allowed to turn the volume up past a certain number. And if it was and they could hear from their room, then we fucking that's when we got our ass handed to us. But it was like, don't bother me. Like, watch your damn TV and leave me alone and get it all out of your system because I'm watching the TV later.
Raise your hand if you grew up being poor. Yeah, okay, I know. So when we didn't have cereal and we didn't have waffles and we didn't have pancakes, we still wanted French toast and we didn't know how to make it ourselves. So we would take the bread and put it in the toaster, get like 4 slices of them, because 4 for each of us. That's like half a loaf between us, and then we just drip it with syrup. That was our French toast for the morning. Watching the Bugs Bunny cartoons, and then my dad actually got us into kung fu theater as well. So unlike Wu-Tang Clan, who's or similar
Yeah.
to, not unlike. But growing up watching that kind of stuff, that was our Saturdays, man. That was living high on the hog back then.
For us, Saturday it was college sports. It was the cartoons, and then the cartoons butted right up to the start of like the college sports schedule on TV. So then it was college sports, and then Sunday morning there was like not really cartoons on. It was like church, and then it was like like whatever sport was in season that that went on the TV. Like when it was football season, it was
Mm-hmm.
when the 10 a.m. game started up until the night game ended. It was like football all day. So
Right.
we like there wasn't too much of anything else.
I remember watching cartoons with my brother, and he would just let out a rank fart, and we just die laughing. And then next thing you know, our dad would come up all groggy, shuffling his feet, and whacking us upside the head because we were laughing too loud. All because of a fart.
We got told to shut the fuck up quite often.
Yeah, and a lot of these kids growing up, they just don't know that. I mean, back in the day, riding your bike, and literally the memes out there are true. Riding your bike around, you would look for where all the bikes are on the lawn. That's where you knew all your friends were. You knew the haunts. You knew the places. You would ride like 8 in the morning, 8:30 or 9 in the morning on a Saturday, meet up with all your friends and go into shenanigans the rest of the day until light broke. And then, you went home and got your ass beaten, ate your dinner, and went to sleep.
And you know what fucked up innuendo in like cartoons and movies and TV was the generation that started bitching about it because they were leaving their fucking electronics with like and using that as the babysitter, like like a latchkey kid 2.0. Even though the parents they're still like want to do their own thing. And
Right.
now that the technology is readily available and easy to just hand a kid an iPad and say, here, watch this. And then they come across some shit that their kid is watching and it's like, well, what? I don't approve of this. Well, that's kind of your fault, right? You should have been sitting there watching it with them. Like, I get you have shit to do, but like, so did everybody else before like that technology was available. And the world's still pretty populated. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, if you're going to tell me that they had access to porn back then, I had access to porn back when I was before kindergarten, around kindergarten. There was magazines everywhere. I could find it, no problem. I had my own stash when I was like 6 or 7. So, that's why I'm kind of fucked up in the head that I am. But you know what? Hey, say la vie. I haven't killed anybody.
Right.
But you know what? Go ahead.
No. I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, like that totally. Like the whole, like all the shit that that they're bitching about was accessible, but it was a little harder to come by because it wasn't like at your fingertips. Like it, like
whoa, come by fingertips. I get it.
Hello. Talking about innuendo. See, I was able to work it in.
Whoa, work it in. Yeah, so guess what? Heckle and Jekyll, they're 2 magpies. They're from the South. They're black crows. I mean, come on, really? Come on. I mean, if that isn't, the pot calling the kettle black, I mean, so to speak, these magpies love watermelon. They love fried chicken. I mean, come on, really? But they're funny as hell.
Right? And they worked it in there. And people weren't bitchy. Like, Foghorn Leghorn was another one. He had a lot of fucking sayings, calling people stupid, mostly calling people stupid and ugly.
And retarded as well.
Right? So, and again, not bitching because, like, it was being, like, sent out by people that understood and appreciated innuendo and received by people that understood and appreciated innuendo. And
yeah.
And again, going back to the whole had to make it in making things marketable, you gotta you're trying to market to the mass, right? And if it means pulling in these adding a couple of jokes these kids aren't gonna get, but the parents will, it suggests that they'll come back and more easily to sit down with their kid and watch the show again.
Yeah, so in my generation, I grew up and I actually got to see a lot of stuff that was phasing out. 8-track tape. We're talking Soul Train. We're talking Solid Gold. We're talking all the stuff that as a kid they were starting to phase out. And then you see some of the stuff in the cartoons and the new age cartoons at the time when I was before teenage times, like 11, 12, and that's when Animaniacs first came out back in the 80s.
I remember that.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg, produced this, and we're talking Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, their sister Dot, right?
Yeah.
And they were in the Warner Brothers tower and just out destroying the whole Hollywood, with all these zany quips and everything. But, you see the innuendo where Dot's holding Prince. Well, I know who Prince was back in the days with Soul Train and back in the day, days with, what was it? Shoot, I can't even think of the shows the other shows he was on. He was on a billion of those stand-up shows where he was singing and doing his thing. I knew who he was. Hell, Purple Rain was huge back then. And now Dot's trying to get into his wanger. I mean, come on, really? Some of the things that they talk about in the Animaniacs. I mean, Yakko and Wacko, they're always after that nurse. They want to see them titties.
Mm-hmm.
I would do too. They were pretty nice.
Well drawn.
And then you got Elmira, that's Elmer's daughter, supposedly, that kills animals with love and affection. I mean, come on, really? You're hugging them to death. I mean, God's sakes, it's a puppy. So what was that tie-in? A lot of people don't know the tie-in to that. Of Mice and Men, a book back in the early 1900s, which became a popular movie and it's been used in lots of other movies. But when you think about it, this big hulking mass destroying a mouse and possibly killing children. I mean, holy fuck, man.
Yeah, a lot of people, I'm glad you brought that point up. Like, a lot of people didn't get that. She was Lenny.
Yes. Oh, pretty mouse. And then, that ties into other things too. And we'll make the connection later, but, Bugs Bunny had it as well. I mean, oh my God, there's just so many things. And then Animaniacs had the best writers. I mean, even as a kid, as well, young as I was more mature in the head from the things I dealt with when I was younger. And I got a lot of those jokes. And a lot of people are just like, I don't get it. I would laugh my ass off.
Yeah. And even in the theme song, Baloney in our slacks, come on.
Come on.
There's no getting around that one. I was just and he's flipping the fucking baloney and pulling his pants away from him.
Yeah. Well, Bill Clinton was on the sax too.
Right? So it just
we know about Bill Clinton, right? He did not have sexual relations with that woman.
And they kept him on. Anyways.
That's the best fucking line. There's baloney in her sax and Clinton's on the sax. I mean, come on, really? That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I think that one, I felt like that one went the extra mile to try to entertain the parents too, that were or the older siblings or whatever that had to sit there and watch with the younger kids.
But I also think on that line too, they made that show in a higher echelon of innuendo, so they weren't hiding nothing, basically, is what I mean. They were out there. They were like, this is the innuendo, this is what it's tied to. If you don't know it, you don't know. If you do, you're gonna laugh your ass off. And they didn't do any measures to try to put something in the way of that innuendo. They just put it on the table. There it is.
Yeah I mean, even shows modern shows like Family Guy, that use the shit out of innuendo.
Oh yeah,
it's still semi-explained, or at least explained some background or context is given to it before they show it. This one they didn't. It was just bam, there it is. Catch it if you can. If you don't, oh well, catch the next one.
I mean, come on, Quagmire going. What's the internet? You don't know what the internet is? Well, internet is where you get free porn. Excuse me, guys. I gotta go. And he's gone, and then 2 weeks later, hey, Quagmire, where have you been? I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. I've been busy. Giggity. And then he turns around, his right arm's freaking beefed and chucked arm, and his other arm's skinny. He's like, what have you been doing? Yeah, I gotta go in the house. I'll talk to you later.
He's got that Safer at Home Act COVID arm.
Oh my God. That's innuendo as you get, right? But hilarious.
Well, yeah, they provided explanation and a backstory to it, and then versus where Animaniacs were just it came out of nowhere, or it was within context of the joke, but
right,
they didn't explain the shit at all. It was just there it is.
Yeah, and if you just think those two little items were there, no, you're talking about Slappy Squirrel. There was a lot of innuendo because she was an older squirrel that came from supposedly the 1920s and knew how to slapstick dance and all that stuff. Then you had Pinky and the Brain. I mean, oh my gosh, man! You had the genius and you had the the retard, and they were coming up with other stuff, and there was sexual innuendo in that as well as regular innuendo. Every single aspect that those writers had were our version of Rick and Morty back in the day.
Yeah. So interesting side story to Pinky and the Brain. I went to school with two guys.
With the Brain?
He looked like the Brain, and then there was a freshman that looked like Pinky. So
no way.
Yeah, those were their fucking nicknames, was Brain and Pinky.
So as they walk down the hallway, they go, the Pinky and the Brain.
They made him take pictures for the yearbook and shit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Take
there,
another picture, North.
there was no fucking caption, no explanation. It was just the two of them, and they just put it in like this fucking collage. And I was like, wow, you guys are dicks.
But meanwhile, you're just laughing your ass off, going, "Well played, so well played."
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious. I'm like thumbing through the fucking yearbook. I'm like, wow, they really fucking put those fuckers on blast.
And just thinking about that, one more thing about the Animaniacs, didn't they have the good pigeons instead of the good fellas?
Yeah.
They had those fucking Italian pigeons that were knocking off other animals. I'm like, holy crap! And they're getting away with this. I'm laughing my ass off, but it's totally a knock against Italians.
And it's like they're just redoing shit from The Godfather and Goodfellas.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're pigeons in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
come on,
Exactly.
really?
Yeah. They again not trying to hide it, but it again it's people weren't like getting all like fucking butthurt about it back in the day.
I know. We were laughing our ass off because we had
Hell
the
yeah.
Super NES and we're, watching cartoons and eating cereal and watching scrambled porn. Okay, wait, what? No, that was just me? No.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it was good times when there was less censorship. I mean, and I know they cut some shit out. I can imagine, I could just imagine what's on the cutting room floor if that's what made it into the episode.
So, as an adult, I'm going to be 49 this year, and I'm going to be shaving the baby face, by the way, so I'll look younger. But back when I was 20, I read an article, and I cannot pick it up, so I can't substantiate this, but I read an article in my mind about the Animaniacs and how they were trying to put S words, B bombs, N words. Well, not really N words, just no vag. But they were trying to put all these sketchy words in there, and the people that were reviewing all the scripts and everything were cutting them out. But the reason why they were doing it, and as you see, the mindset of these writers is they were putting in these big words that everybody knew not to say to hide the words that they wanted to get said, and that the people that were cutting it out wouldn't focus on. So they would see the shit word and they wouldn't focus on the act of what they were trying to get to that word, right? And so they let it pass, the rest of it pass. And that's why we saw a lot of that stuff with Animaniacs. They were just genius writers, and that moved into the script writing and shows that we see nowadays on the regular networks.
And good on them, because if not, then like, where would it have gone? Like, how would it have been as entertaining? Would it have not? You know what I mean? It's like it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm glad it was done. I know they're trying. Like, okay, I guess it turns into what we have now, where everybody's so like offended by everything that like that shit would no longer fly. Like they couldn't get away with that stuff now.
Let me blow your brain one more time.
Mm-hmm.
You look about the time frame of Animaniacs came out, and you see the writers that were part of that. Hey, man, what about Married with Children? Man.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like okay, the episode where they go on the game show, and Al has to have like all these like fat ladies lay on top of the mattress, and he's in between. And when they say bring him out, he's like, bring on the fat women. And I'm like, whoa. Watching it back in the day was still funny. It was still funny this time, but I'm like, God damn. Like,
yeah, when he's trying to put the hooves on that cow in the shoe store, and he goes, I can't get them on, lady. Your feet are just too big. I mean, all the innuendo from that you see in cartoons. Everything that you think that you would see on cable TV, you see in cartoons. They're just on a molecular level, just a little bit different. They're still snide. They're still as cruel. They're still as whippy as anything else. They're just on a cartoon.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And it's like, and when you think about it, you think about the people that have been writing and directing and putting all these types of shows on in that generation, and then you move to things like where like Bugs Bunny and like other characters, male characters, are now putting on women's clothing and hitting on and and hitting on men characters in the show, right? They're writing this shit, and we're all sitting there laughing, and it's hilarious. But then that's the generation that's bitching about like the LGBT community and like transgenders and all this other shit that they're bitching at. And I'm like, well, hold on. Weren't you motherfuckers writing this exact fucking scenario back in the day, and now you flash forward and now you're bitching about it? Is it because you're salty because you're out of a job because they're like not picking up your wares anymore, or like what's like that's
Which,
kind of what I thought about when I saw the demographic that was bitching about like the LGBT community. Now I'm like, what?
which wears underwears?
Exactly.
So, there's always been transgender. There's always been cross dressers. There's always been all sorts of things. Hermaphrodites, lady boy. There's been it's not new. It's not new. It's just more to the forefront. Okay, so let's get past the point that you are this. You're human. You're a person. Okay, let's get over the fact that you're this specific person. Because guess what? I'm Mexican, and I don't say, hey, you know what? You treat Mexicans bad. You treat me bad. You know what? I get shit on every day, just like everybody else. I get over it. I move on. I don't have a movement. I don't have people looking at me over it. When you look at shit like these cartoons, that's the demographics that they were going for. They're teaching children to be more accepting of certain things. When Bugs Bunny's dressed like a woman and laying tongue deep into Elmer Fudd and caressing him like he's the next, swallow princess, you're not thinking, oh, that's dude on dude. That's disgusting. I'm going to shoot a gay person tomorrow. You're looking at it like, well, it's hilarious. Look, he's tricking him to kiss him. That's kind of funny. Okay, I don't mind it so much. I think it's hilarious.
Right.
Not to go into the school and shoot people just because you saw something that offended you that nobody else agrees upon you, and you want to kill people.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so I'm glad you made that point about like it was in their way showing like this is out there, like, learn to accept it. But and then for a lot of them to come back around and go, oh no, this is not, like when it's in real life they go, no, this is not good, this is not the way it's supposed to be. It's like, wait. Were you lying back then, or are you lying now? Like, what was it?
So what's more impressed upon you? The fact that Elmer Fudd puts a shotgun inside of Bugs Bunny's mouth, or the fact that Elmer Fudd puts a shotgun in Bugs Bunny's mouth and he slowly purses his lips and pulls out with his lips sticking to the gun as he's sucking it off? I mean, come on, really? You know what that means.
Yeah, exactly. And it was out there, and it was acceptable, and all of a sudden now it's not. Like,
yeah.
What, like, because that kind of thing doesn't exist anymore, because that's not how the world works anymore. Like, is that it? Did I miss something, and everybody all of a sudden just agreed like one night that we're not going to do it like this anymore?
So I talked about the connection earlier about of mice and men. There's a scene in Bugs Bunny where the abominable snowman grabs Daffy Duck and goes, "Oh, my little bunny rabbit! I'm gonna hug him and pet him and squeeze him and love him." And he puts his thumb on him, and I'm gonna stroke his pretty bill. Takes the tip of the bill, goes up to his forehead, and elongates his forehead. I'm gonna stroke his pretty feathers and rub his pretty back. Wait a minute, George. Ducks or bunnies don't have black feathers and a bill. Oh, George, I'm going to teach you a lesson, and smacks his butt and elongates his head on the other side, pap, pap, pap. I mean, come on. That's Lenny, of course, the abominable snowman. But, the abuse that he gives that duck, I mean, that's what kids were growing up with. We got belts, we got switches, we got hit, we got books, we got all sorts of things when we were bad. We didn't get participation trophies, and we grew up, I guess, all right, because I haven't shot up a school yet. I know I said that twice, but I'm sorry.
Me either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I never wigged out and fucking took a bunch of people with me. Just like, like you learn to control your shit, and like you let shit like fucking go that you need to let go, otherwise it's gonna make you crazy. Like and it's something that at some point stop happening. Like, people stop understanding that you don't have to watch this. You can fucking change the channel. You don't have to fucking listen to that. You can fucking switch the station. Like, if it, maybe you don't like it, but I'm sure there's other people out there that like it, so why ruin it for them? Like, they're not trying to ruin your shit for you.
So I go back to another story. I was okay. Now I'm thinking about this. Give me a sec. Okay, I was in seventh grade. Yeah, seventh grade. So I was probably about what 11, 11 and a half, maybe somewhere around there. We were coming back from, or no, we were going from where we lived in Strathmore, California. Look it up. It's a shithole, but it was our shithole. And we were going to the swap meet, which is a huge Mexican swap meet down the road between Strathmore and Tulare, California. And they were playing. My parents put on Guns N' Roses. It was The Jungle. That was that song off the album. Right. So my brother loved it. He's a year and a month older than I am. Right. So he was more, formed in the brain than I was. I was a mushhead. And he loved the band. He loved the music. And I hated it. I hated it because it's loud. I hated it because of drum. Whatever the case was. I just hated it. And my parents were playing it louder for him. And they actually liked the song too. They liked the drum beats and everything. I'm like, turn it down. I'm yelling like a little shithead. Fast forward later, this mushmouth started liking that band. I love Guns N' Roses now. But, it's the same thing as anything else. I wanted the channel to be changed, but even though I was screaming and yelling like these libtards are, worrying about what's going on, there was a point where I just finally stopped yelling, listened to what was going on, and made a decision whether to like it or not. And I turned out that I liked it. If you hate it, guess what? Don't listen to it anymore after that. Just change the channel. Move on with your life. It hasn't killed you.
Yeah, and like I don't get why people can't do that. Like, why can't you just let it go and move the fuck on? Like, a lot of other people do it. A lot of people have been doing it for centuries. It's just like, why?
And it's kept them alive, right?
Yeah, and it's like, why do you get a special soapbox for it? I mean, I get that you have an opinion. That's fine, have it. But like, why ruin the fucking thing that other people are enjoying just because it's not for you?
Because TikTok's available, meetings are available, Zoom, like where we're in, podcasting, all this stuff is more available to people, and they can reach that less than 1% of personalities out there that would agree with them. But I tell you what, the majority does not agree with you. The majority is normal. The majority wants to get on with their lives. And the reason why you're not hearing the majority is because they don't want to put in their times for those platitudes, and they just want to get on with their lives. So
yeah, it's like us here. Like it would be great if every man, woman, and child on the planet listened and watched this podcast. But we understand realistically that's probably not going to happen. Like there's a certain kind of people out there that enjoy our humor and enjoy our content, and there's people that don't. And for the people that don't, oh well, they're not watching this shit anyway. So who gives a fuck? Like, let them enjoy their shit. Like, you guys keep tuning in to like check out the shit you like and the shit we like.
And thank you to those 300 people. We've upgraded since one person.
Yeah. My mom told a bunch of her friends.
Wait a minute. You brought mommy in on this? I did too.
That was like subscriber number 1.
But when you look back on these things, like there's a whole opera, Bugs Bunny, where Elmer Fudd's trying to kill him. He's talking to the Norse gods to give him power to go kill this rabbit, and all of a sudden Bugs Bunny sees no way out but to be Broomhilda, the demasculated rabbit, to be a female and with big cones, right? Riding up on his horse up to the altar to be sacrificed or filleted by this hunter, and they end up falling in love, kissing, holding, canoodling until the hat falls off and he sees it's the rabbit. Feeling betrayed, he kills Broomhilda and then cries and cries and cries. And then Broomhilda all of a sudden comes alive and lays a big, fat, wet kiss right on his lips and ducks right down into the rabbit hole, and everybody has a good laugh. Let's think about this. A male rabbit dressed like a female, made out, almost fornicated with a hunter, and then laid a big, fat, wet, sloppy kiss with tongue, more than likely, and then dipped into a hole and ran away and realized that he got the better of that guy. I mean, that's it in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, like, I don't know how people were saying, oh, it wasn't accepted. Like, they were, like, people tried. It's like, you weren't fighting your own battle, whether you fucking realize it or not. People were trying, like, they just just didn't come across. Like your team didn't win that time, and so like doesn't mean you can't play again, but don't act like you were totally on your own and nobody was trying to help you when people were trying to help you. You're just not in the way you wanted, but
Right.
like beggars and choosers at that point, right?
Exactly. I mean, back in the day when we were growing up, we didn't have internet. We just had long phone calls and what's that phone service where it's on the farms where everyone connects, that hotline, whatever.
Oh
That
yeah, the
everyone
party
just
lines.
party line. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
It, back even before that, there was no assimilation with people. There was no conjoining of like minds. So if you were a transvestite, if you were a man wanting to be a female, or vice versa, you had nobody to reach out to except just walking out there and fending for yourself and maybe get your ass beat to a pulp. That's what life was like. But now everybody's got a pedestal. Now everybody's got a view format. Now everybody's got a voice. And now they want to force it down everybody else's voice, which is contradiction to what they believe. They believe that, hey, I should have my choice, and this is my choice. Well, I believe you have a choice, but I don't need to hear it. But I'm at fault, and now I'm to blame that I don't accept LBGQT. I like lettuce, bacon, and tomato. I mean, come on. Let's get over the fact that you are what you are. That's it. I don't care. But when you try to stuff it down my throat, it's just as equally the same wrong as if I try to stuff something down your throat, which we never try to do. Normal people, that is.
It's like the message and the movement's theme change, but the tactics never do. Like it's always it from the beginning of time. It's always somebody trying to fucking push their agenda or work their angle onto the masses, and like it's the same. It's gonna be the same until the end of the fucking world, and like. I don't know. People just need to start waking up to the fact that, like, people are people. And this is the way people are built. And, like, you can package it however the fuck you want. But in the end, people are still going to be people.
And let's keep this in mind, people. The government is always looking to separate us. Yes, I may not like you. Yes, I may disagree with your viewpoint. But you know what? You're a person. So I'm not going to degrade you. I'm not going to go out and, openly take you out into the world and demasculate you or emasculate you or to show that you are wrong. If they separate us, we're separated. Once we're separated, they control us. And once they control us, they can make us do whatever they want. It's all about control. If we can't control ourselves, the government damn well sure control us. And I'm not saying, this is conspiracy theory, but facts are facts. And if we can't come together as people, then we're going to be separated and we're going to fall harder.
Yeah, and it's like, stop letting dumb shit like what they do on cartoons fucking be battlegrounds. I mean, when's it gonna end? I mean, like, and then what was the latest occurrence, or like one of the shows that you remember that like took it to the breaking point after Animaniacs?
So, off the top of my head, I cannot come up with a damn thing, but there was a lot of shows growing up that I used to watch that were like right on the brim of it, but they were like offshoots. They were stuff that was not on the regular TV. So one thing before the Animaniacs, Lenny Bruce, he did a cartoon, and this cartoon came out on Showtime, and Showtime had these little skits and cartoons that they would do late night, and it was The Masked Man. Funny as hell. If you want to laugh and you're okay with the words like the F word and just being gay and everything else, watch this, because Lenny Bruce had an open mind about all this stuff, and he was accepting of a lot of this. So I think this came out in the 70s or something, and they showed it on Showtime, but it was about the Masked Man, Lone Ranger, being gay, and it's the funniest thing I ever saw, and it's still funny to this day. You watch that and you understand that, people are always pushing the brim of everything. As far as Saturday cartoons go, there was Reboot. Okay, that pops in my head. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's like a computer animated world, a kid in a computer world state that goes about in his own adventures, and there's a virus that he's always attacking. Well, if you look at this Reboot, the female in there has big titties, has curved, concaved ass cheeks, and it's sexual innuendo 10.0 through this whole goddamn thing. Yeah, there's content for children and learning and everything else, but you look at the drawings and the renderings of these characters, it's like, yeah, I know what they were getting at, and it certainly was an education.
Yeah, and like that makes me think of shows like Ren and Stimpy and like SpongeBob, like
Yes.
and like these were like what Nickelodeon shows.
Yes,
And they
you
were like,
fat, bloated idiot.
yeah, like the fucking I'm the pitcher, you're the catcher, like that
Yep.
kind of shit, and it was just, yeah, like it was totally out there, and then like SpongeBob would fucking, I mean, just just the characters themselves, like that was the fucking innuendo.
So every time I watch SpongeBob, I mean, I'm looking at it. SpongeBob represents a scum spudge. Picks up the semen. Sandy Squirrel is like the merkin, at the bottom, and Patrick Star is the anus, of the whole thing. And there's a bunch of smelly fish in the Bermuda Triangle, trapping all the males. I mean, come on, really? They're in Bikini Bottom. You got under Bikini Bottom, you got Sandy as the bush, right? And you got SpongeBob down in Bikini Bottom catching all that semen, and you got Starfish Patrick right up in the anus area.
And then Mr. Krabs,
my boy.
It's just it's stuff that I think that show really pushed it to the max, because they made the main characters like a large majority of that, like that innuendo. It was those main characters.
Oh, yeah.
And being like that, to me, that was more blatant than anything they did on like Animaniacs or like that. I think that was probably the pinnacle of when,
Yes.
like it was at its right before that fucking drop off happened.
And don't you dare, people who are watching this or listening, dare send any email saying that SpongeBob was whole and was smart and had no affinity for any, sexual innuendo or anything else like that. When SpongeBob was at the Krusty Krab and he gets buried underneath the sea right there, and all of a sudden he gets a little chubby right in his crotchal area popping up, right? When he smells the burgers being started, that's a hard on. I don't care if a spatula popped out of there. For a split second, you thought it was a penis popping up.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what they were going for.
Yeah, and when the fish accidentally sits on him, and he's looking around like, oh my god, what do I do? And there's the fucking, oh god, I can't think of his name. The crustacean, that little guy, the evil one with the
Plankton.
Yeah, Plankton's all, don't do that. Stand up for yourself. And so he's reaching in the pocket of this fish right for the crotch. He's gonna jerk off a fish to get off of him on a bench. I mean, come on.
Right?
Really?
Yeah, it's like, again, Pinnacle pushing it to the breaking point, and it was funny because look how long that show lasted. Look how many people were entertained. Even like adults like using it in slutty fucking Halloween costumes like that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yep.
They were with it. They were on it.
They rode the back of David Hasselhoff in the sea. I mean, come on. Patrick Star was close to his butt, so there's his anus right there. Come on, really? Oh, SpongeBob. Oh, yeah. Look what I pulled out of here.
And it was like you watched it and you liked it, and now you want to bitch about it. It's why why was it cool back then, and why is it not?
So
cool
that
now?
was one of the shows I didn't mind watching with my kids. I mean,
Yeah,
Teletubbies. I looked at that, and I recently saw a meme of 3 thick chicks wearing the Teletubby outfits that were really slim on them, so they have fat asses and big titties. I'm like, yeah, that would have been a better show. And then, watching SpongeBob, and I'm looking at that from a different perspective. I'm like, I remember those scenes. I remember what I thought, and I'm a bad person.
And I can't say for sure that that's not what they were going for.
You knew what I was going for. Oh! It was a nasty show when you really watched it. I mean, from Sandy to the big buff lobster to, hell, even Plankton was falling in love with that robot.
Right? Yeah, I remember. I do remember that, and I remember laughing, and I remember thinking this is a fucking fake cartoon, and nowhere, like, in no way, shape, or form is this gonna shape or impact my life because I just laughed at this joke that they wrote.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you were thinking that going. In no way, shape, or form is this gonna impact my life. Oh shit! Look what he just did.
What was the worst is when they would fucking go to bed and I was too lazy to fucking change the channel, so I would just be laying there watching fucking SpongeBob or whatever fucking cartoon for another 30 minutes till I got up off the couch and changed the channel.
Change the channel.
You ever sit there after the kids go to bed and with the wife and go, why the fuck are we still watching this?
Because they're talking to me. They're saying words of truth through my brain. Yeah, fucking Squidward in there, you can go all day long, they're trying to catch jellyfish and he's poking them and getting stung. Come on, really, he's playing with the jellyfish. He's not playing with the jellyfish, he's playing with Punani. He is.
It was a happier time, funnier time for sure.
It was a better time, definitely, yeah. It's going to be around for the rest of our lives. It's never going to leave. So get over it. Get on with your life. If you're LGBTQ, if you're lady boy, if you're heterosexual, if you're Christian, if you're Catholic, if you're Muslim, you know what? You're not the end all be all. You're not going to change the world. Hell, you maybe change the world, but you know what? Are you going to make it a better place? Try to make it a better place because we're all going to be here for the rest of our lives.
Damn, Skippy.
Yeah.
And speaking of time, guys, we are coming up on ours for this set. So thank you again for tuning in. And we are going to get up on out of here. But again, don't forget to hit us up on all the social media. Check out the YouTube. We post, for those of you that still don't know, we post all the episodes with video and audio on the podcast platforms, and the videos go up on YouTube. So if you feel like watching the video format, especially for those shows where we're doing screen sharing, it's worth checking out. Yep. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Until next week.
If a cunt smoked your last blunt, if work makes you feel like a jerk, if you need more humor in your life, just look to rice and beans for afternoon delight.